Okay, never mind. Now we're okay. He, him, he. Oh, my pronouns. It's he/him. Okay, never mind. Now we're okay.
I have a question.
Is it about cheese?
One one, one one, one one, one one. Wanna see an item nerd leak? Wanna see an item nerd leak? Wanna see an Wanna see an item nerd leak? Item nerd? Am I right? Am I lonely? Item nerd. Charlie Kirk. Oh. cookie run. Am I right? Yay, first salt. Sugary? Okay. Okay, I think I'm safe to open my mic now. This is Item Nerd.
Sebastian.
Home. The audio here is gone. I don't know why.
Sebastian.
How do you like her? So I'll voice over. Hey,
Cetaphil.
Hey,
Cetaphil.
how do you like our new home?
What do you mean your home? It's been this barren white land for like,
Have I already
I don't know,
shown
like
this?
1 year, 2 years? I don't know.
But Cetaphil, there's an ocean.
When was there an ocean in my item nerd? Oh, okay. Hey guys, it's me, Serious Fun. I'm so serious. Wow, that painting is beautiful. They are a beaut. True, they beaut. Ow, bubble blower, that really hurt. Well, I know you're not gonna be in the game now.
Okay. How many people did... So far there's 4. I swear there's more. Andre! The nightmare. I have this complete. Demon. Wow. Who disliked that comment, bro? This actually sucks. Okay, yeah, fair. I meant like the dislike is fair, not the cookie. Okay. Bro just This isn't even. This is just Saw from BFB. I'll draw it, but like it's not gonna be that detailed because I don't like steal ours.
I knew you'd miss me.
I want Nintendo Switch living the dream so much, bro.
The resident.
You will be the one creating them.
Let's make our first
Creating
radiant
the
resident.
first resident.
There are two ways you can go about it. You can answer a
start by
series of
answering
questions,
about their facial features,
or meticulously
or
pick
by
each
creating
individual
each part
part.
individually.
I
Let's
want
try
this
to
game
think
so
of the
bad, bro.
What our main part is
Ah!
You'll appear as a
the
character.
universe.
Why they're white, but this one's orange? No, brown. Why did I say orange?
Throughout the
Confused.
direct.
That's brown.
That
From
works.
face types
So,
to
round,
hairstyles.
pinchable cheeks, then a fab hairstyle, exuberant eyes,
And more. There are
and a
so
sweet
many
smile.
parts, including ones unique
There are
to
all. My name is Lone.
Where's Hugh Morris? Hugh Morris!
you.
Hugh Morris!
So many
Smile.
parts, including
might slide up to your block with intelligence. I'm a genius with a Glock. There's some about
TS frying me, bro. How do you draw that? Object show. It's almost at 1,000 views, yo. Toon Squid. Why does it smell so bad right now? Ew. I'm gonna play CRK in like 30 minutes or so. Yeah. Ew. What have you made? I am nerd, am I right? Yeah, that was not a very nice cake of milk. Hey. Okay. Wait, that's the wrong. Okay. Ew. Oh. Actually, oh wait, I think that's okay. I think that's just my sister's cooking. What if instead of drawing RCs, I decided I react to Deltarune 6-7 theory?
But this
Wait, I have an idea. This is just a PN. That is literally just a clip art. My fans are all kids. Look at the super silly announcement. You have been kicked by server shutdown. No reason. Look at.
You're saying you're paid. I can tell by what you're saying. I'm Thunder Freddy. I like to scare
I'm Freddy
everyone.
Fazbear and I'm gonna eat ya.
just
Green and in between. This has gotta be top 10 best thumbnails of all time, bro.
to save the world, there is only one way.
Yes! 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 Yes!
To save the world, there is only one way.
Yes! This has gotta be top 10 best thumbnails of all time, bro. Okay.
The identity of the Eggman in Deltarune has been quite a mystery since the beginning. Even from the very first post-Chapter 3 and 4 theory video that I made, I had a hard time nailing anything down about him. Outside of the fact that he exists and is somehow tied to Chris, his link to the game as a whole is relatively unknown. For now. As of recently, however, there was a discovery. A discovery relating to a certain number. A series of two numbers in conjunction with one another, as a matter of fact. I'm talking, of course, about 6-7. Hello everyone, my name is Spooky Dude, and unfortunately, this is Deltarune 6-7 Theory. Now before I begin, I know some of you are asking the obvious question. Did you say you were taking a break from Deltarune? I can't keep doing this. And to quickly answer the question, yes, I am, but in that video I said I was taking a break from being a Deltarune focused channel. I'm still doing theory reviews, but I'm also doing all kinds of other videos. Go check out my recent theory videos on the Amazing Digital Circus and Knights of Guinevere. I also said that if any news were to come out, or if I felt like I had something to say, I would make another Deltarune video.
Alright, Knights of Guinevere. I kind of forgot that I should watch that. I have not watched
And
it.
some news has come out. Discoveries have been made. And I do feel like I have something to say. Also, I shouldn't have to defend myself from someone who knowingly clicked on a video titled Deltarune 6-7 Theory. No, but for real. My name is Spooky Dude. Make sure to like and subscribe. Now let's discuss.
Perfect intro ever.
Okay, where is this video actually going? This explanation is slightly complicated, so forgive me if I get this answer wrong, and let me know in the comments and I'll pin it, but based on my research, this is what I got. If you didn't know, all colors displayed digitally have a hex code, which is how the monitor knows what colors to display. If you want the color red, for example, to display on the screen, the way to tell the computer to display it is by using a hex code. A hex code contains 6 digits, each of them corresponding to a number
Six?
between 0
Like
and
6, 7?
15. In this way, the entire color spectrum is accounted for. This color, red, uses hex code FF0000. But here in this other image, you can see how slightly altering the hex code changes the way the red looks. There is, however, a different way to display colors as well, using the RGB values rather than a single hex code. Containing a pattern of 9 numbers instead of 6, the RGB values allow you to put in a number from 0 to 255 for red, blue, and green values, allowing you to, again, properly display any color on the screen. Which brings us to
This is
Undertale.
still just a clip.
You see, in the Mystery Man room, the floor is gray. But what color is it specifically? By checking the RGB values, we can see that the value is
no, don't!
166, 166, 166.
Oh, phew.
The significance here is obvious. Gaster has always been associated with the number 6, specifically multiple repetitions of the number 6. The typeface value in the code for entry number 17 was 666. The fun value required to meet Gaster in the Mystery Man room is 66. Gaster's stats in the code are all variation of multiple 6s. Even in Deltarune, the Garnermaker typeface value that he uses is 666. The symbolism is clear. Gaster is associated in some way with the devil. People widely know 666 as the number of the beast, which is sort of how it's become known in popular culture. 666 equals Satan. That's basically all you need to know. This has been the widely agreed upon idea. Whether you, like me, are a believer in Gaster ultimately being an antagonistic force who may very well be the final boss of the entire game, or if you're one of those Gaster apologists, even then you can still make the argument that Gaster's association with Lucifer is more so in reference to Lucifer's denial of God's control and his desire for true freedom by becoming like God himself. In this way, Gaster can still be associated with the
I can
devil
practice
and the
drawing
number
hands,
666
yay!
without it being a bad thing. Regardless of which way you believe, he is associated with the devil. But this is where things get kind of weird.
Weird?
The reason
Like
we know
weird?
that Gaster is the character speaking in the intro of the game is because the typeface value is 666, and this has a 0% chance of being an accident. The typeface values go in order, so like Toby himself creates each one. The values start at 0, and so whenever he makes a character, he assigns them a typeface value to, tell the game how their text is supposed to work. This character, the very first one to speak in the game, is already number 666.
67.
Because it's on purpose. It's Gaster. Which brings us to the Garnermaker sequence. As all of you probably know, one of the first Deltarune theory arguments was over whether or not there was a second speaker in that intro. Gaster says your wonderful creation before the screen changes, the typing style changes,
There's
and
definitely
voice
two.
says, will now be discarded. No one can choose who they are in this world. Your name is, before opening into the game. Many thought this was just Gaster. This was actually what I thought for a very long time, especially considering it just seemed convoluted to have Gaster's plan interrupted, despite him not mentioning anything about it ever, and allowing you to get the trophy for completing a chapter without issue. However, after further deliberation, I've gone back on that theory. See, it doesn't make sense for Gaster to have you set up the vessel, only to then throw it away and send you to Chris. It makes more sense for a second character to have done this. And not only that, but the type of value here for the second speaker is 2. Now, it is again worth mentioning that the typeface value controls the style of text.
I'm gonna make
So
this
while it's
so
definitely
dumb.
usable for lore, it could also be that the
Because I
intention
don't
was
like
just
Sealer.
change the text style, without the type of value giving away the identity of the speaker. But come on, not only is the type value different, but the style of speaking in Japanese is
Spinal is
totally different as well, and way more indicative of a different speaker. So I think it's safe to say there are 2 speakers
ping
in
me.
the intro.
Do not
Why is
ping
this
me.
important?
Ever.
Well, then we could argue that a different typeface value could indicate there being a different speaker if the situation ever were to arise where 2 different typeface values were used, and we had a difficult time
What's
to say there are 2
Who
speakers
ping
in the
me?
intro.
Do not ping me. Ever. The whiteboard, is it gone? This board will expire on 1 February 2026. 6-7.
Out who exactly was saying what, right? Like, knowing that Gaster's value is 666 and the second character to speak is 2, one could say, okay, well, everybody's got their own. Well, the problem is, in that intro sequence, did you know that Gaster actually uses 2 different typeface values? In the
No.
Garnermaker sequence, he uses 666, and also sometimes uses 667. The primary difference between these two is the speed in which the text goes by.
Did you say 6-7?
Okay, obviously these aren't 2 different people, right? 2 different Gasters, we're not talking
I
about
forgot I'm
Garner.
outside. People could
That's
hear me.
silly. It's just Gaster, right? It's obviously just Gaster, and the reason that he used 667 is just to make the text go by faster. Its closeness to 666 should tell us it's obviously Gaster. And we had no reason to argue about this for a very long time. 666 is Gaster's number. 667 has absolutely zero significance, and its usage in the intro is meant to be an allusion to 666. Boom, hands washed, job here, done. Until now. Let's go back to my original point. The value of the gray color in RGB on Mystery Man's floor was 166, 166, 166. In the Forgotten Man's Island, Chapter 3,
8, 9,
we talk to
10.
this NPC. One of the 7 flying aces, although there are notably only 6 of them, that says, "I'm trying to see as far as I can, but it doesn't look too good. Talk about lousy real estate. I sense nothing but evil from that place." The NPC walks away from a pair of binoculars. Looking through the binoculars, you find a gray wall. But I don't actually think this is a wall. It looks more like a floor, like grass, with these markings being blades of grass that are sticking up. Why is this important? Well, the RGB value of that gray is 167, 167, 167. Yes, this video is Deltarune's 6-7 theory, because obviously I would call it that when it's about this. But what is this video really about? This video is really a deep dive into a topic I've never wanted to dive into because of how complex, massively important, and headache-inducing it is. Is the Eggman, also known as the Forgotten Man, Gaster?
6, 7.
And if not, what is their deal? Because there's obviously some connection.
目的は世界の消失を防ぐこと私たち目的はいつ
The good thing about ads is they can do that.
Credit must be given to @morcanslil_y for posting this discovery. It's where I first saw it. Credit must also be given to @flowflow_2slow, who linked me to the post after I lost it and struggled with Twitter's terrible search feature for an hour to find it to no avail. Basically, like I said, the Mystery Man floor value is 166, 166, 166, and the value of the gray area we see on the binoculars is 167, 167, 167. What's really fascinating about this is that it's proof that there is, at least in this singular instance, a difference between 66 and 67. I said before that typeface value 667 existing could simply be
Evan's epic adventure.
values for Gaster, but could obviously only name 1666, so 667 was the closest option. However, it would have been literally the easiest thing in the entire world to make the colors of this patch of grass 166, 166, 166, and yet he chose not to. He chose to make it a different color. Alright, let's talk about this. Thing number 1. No, the Garner Maker characters as well as the Garners in general do not have a similar RGB code. I checked. Thing number 2. While we've been talking about things like the differences between value 166 and 167, it could actually be slightly more complicated than that. Remember when I told you about hex codes? Not the RGB codes, but the 6-digit code also used to identify numbers? Well, the hex code for the Mystery Man floor, if you choose to use hex code instead of the RGB code, is A6, A6, A6. Similarly, the code for the area we see in the Forgotten Man's binoculars, which is RGB code 167, 167, 167, is hex code A7, A7, A7. So we have to ask, which of these are we meant to be seeing? Are we meant to see it as 166, 166, 166? Or was Toby's intention for us to interpret the hex code instead, making it 666 and 777? There is no current answer to this. The other obvious references to these numbers inside the game must be brought up. On top of 6 being Gaster's number, there were only ever 6 chapters of Lord of the Hammer written, with the 7th chapter never being finished. 7 is the number of...
No, don't.
Oh, come on, are you kidding me? In Christianity, 7 is the number of wholeness or completeness?
Piano
Come on,
and
I say I'm
Amigo.
And yet here I am
This is
looking
the
up
person who
biblical
recommended like
significance of
7
6-7.
times. No.
7 is the number of
6.
chapters in the game. It took God 7 days to create the world. There are 7 spirits of God. The number is frequently used in association
that's
with
kinda
God
sick.
because it's a holy number,
That's
a
kinda
number
sick,
of wholeness and completeness. In
Finally,
comparison
some
to the number
actual
6,
original
which is widely
characters.
considered to be a number representing human imperfection, incompleteness, and weakness. It's tied to the creation of humanity on the 6th day, and is therefore tied to the concept of sin. In completeness, you say? We know the number 7, representing wholeness, does have ties to Deltarune's story, like I just explained in the person's unfinished 7th chapter. Technically speaking, 6 representing incompleteness is represented here as well, as only 6 chapters were written, leaving his story incomplete. But there's another reference to 6 and 7 being incomplete
6,
versus
7.
complete within Deltarune, the 7 flying aces. One of them says to Chris in the Eggman's Forgotten Island that Chris copied 7 cards to cheat at cards with. However, there are noticeably only 6 in the Forgotten Man's Island.
6,
The
7.
7th is seemingly the one that shows up in the Eggman's Chapter 4 room. Interesting. The number 6 is also obviously associated with the number of the beast. So, what is my point here? I think that Deltarune, in the same way that the real world sort of is used that way, Deltarune might be using 6 as the number of incompleteness, and 7 as the number of completeness. Oh, by the way, I lied earlier. The number 666 isn't so simple. Yes, you'd be correct in believing that 666 is the number of the beast. However, the original Book of Revelation states that 666 is, I kid you not, the number of man, or the number of a man. To quote the Bible directly, let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 6.
There's a man here.
Okay, we're going very fast, and hitting is very hard. This is a ton
Oh,
of
look at that
information.
cat.
A sort of Jimmy Neutron brain blast. But what in Gaster's name are we actually supposed to do with any of this information? I guess the initial point I'm making here is that Deltarune is not satisfied with showing you Gaster and saying, look, 666 equals scary evil devil guy. I think it goes deeper. I think that Deltarune is doing something symbolically with the numbers 6 and 7. I think part of that is tying them to the idea of being incomplete versus the idea of being complete and whole. I think the Eggman is absolutely tied to Gaster in some way. But how? Well, slowing our roll for a brief second here, let's go back to what that NPC actually says. When talking to the Binoculars NPC, he says, I'm trying to see as far as I can, but it doesn't look too good. Talk about lousy real estate. I sense nothing but evil from that place. Okay, we can work with this. We will, realistically, never return to Man Country, or at least not this Game Boy version of Man Country. So, is Man Country meant to represent a real-world place that Chris has previously been to? I kind of think yes. In the same way that Chapter 4's art therapy segment was meant to represent the art therapy sessions Chris apparently went to. Now, anyone would believe that, because the NPC even asks them which one of them was the patient, in a way that clearly implies this is based off of a memory of an event. There's nothing really like that, though, in Man Country. I do think it's interesting that this entire area features a unique visual style that never, ever comes back. The Game Boy Retro style of visuals and text boxes never comes back outside of the 7th Flying Ace in Art Therapy, who speaks using that retro text box. But besides that, this is entirely unique. I don't really understand the purpose of this. Like, with Art Therapy, it seems to be a one-to-one near recreation of the real deal. Obviously, this painting of a tree probably wasn't on the real-world Art Therapy tour, but this building does have a real-world version of it, I'm sure. I find that hard to believe for Man Country, considering the retro aesthetic. So why do I think that Man Country represents a real place? Furthermore, why do I think we could return there? Well, 2 reasons. First, the obvious. We look through binoculars at a place said to be evil. We then move on. In what world is that not an obvious, extremely obvious moment of foreshadowing? That evil place is going to never come back up. That's crazy. It's like if we met an NPC named Chekhov who said, hey, check out this gun. That's the equivalent, okay? Second, there is actually an unused version of Man Country that we never got to see. In the files of the game lies an unused version of Man Country. Thicker pillars, a strange pattern that looks like 2 eyes, and what looks like either a statue or a chair or throne of some sort. The big structure is made out of that same eye pattern. Wait a minute, a place with structures made out of eyes? Seems similar to the first Dark World. Seems purposeful. Seems like there was some sort of intention behind this design, to the point that I can't accept that this area and Man Country will never come back up. There is actually a third reason. You see, this island, the Forgotten Island, is described as a World Heritage Site. World Heritage Sites are real things, and they are landmarks in areas with cultural, historical, or scientific significance. It is said that they contain cultural and natural heritage around the world considered to be of outstanding value to humanity. If that's true, what if the island is based off a real place that is an actual World Heritage Site, a real place in the Deltarune world that is connected to that evil land in the distance? So if that's true, if this is a real place, what is that evil area? Well, we have no idea. This is another impossible question. The question that should be asked is, what relation does this area have to the Eggman? Alright, I'm going to take another pause here to recap. First off, I think that the numbers 6 and 7 have significance beyond just being Gaster and spooky. I think that there is a specific difference between 6 and 7 that the game is trying to highlight. I also think that, whether or not you agree with me that Man Country itself is a real place, at the very least, that evil place that we looked at in the binoculars will come back up. It's not nothing. Alright, here's the thing. I know I've been jumping around a bunch here, but I really think that the question that we need to ask about the Eggman is this. Well, it's the questions. What is the relationship between Gaster and the Eggman? What is it the Eggman wants or can provide us? How exactly is the game going to separate the numbers 6 and 7? What is going on with Goners? And how can we use that combined information to figure out what this strange, evil area is with the hex code A7A7A7? Obviously, we're not going to be able to get that full, concrete answer today, but we can try our hardest. To start, Gaster does not like the Eggman. The trophies that say complete chapter X or Y without issue can only be avoided if you collect the eggs from the Eggman. What is it the Eggman wants? Well, the Eggman, who we really should just be calling the Forgotten Man by this point, wants to help Chris. In the Valentine's letter, which is obviously written by him, he clearly forgets a lot. The Forgotten Man says, "Even if you meet me, I will be forgotten thereafter. You have forgotten me many times before. Sometimes I even forget myself. You may forget me, I may forget myself, but I will remember your kindness." The Eggman's goal is to give Chris eggs, to remind them of something in their past. That's all we really have right now, and that's a pretty lame answer. So what if we approach it from another direction? Rather than asking what the Eggman wants, why don't we consider what the Eggman could theoretically provide? It is very interesting that the Eggman has a difficult time leaving behind any tangible evidence of his existence. Outside of the eggs themselves, which may just be the point of his entire quest, there is very little about him that seems real. He forgets who he is. The world forgets who he is. Chris forgets who he is. He can't put sentences together properly and seems a bit crazy. But what's interesting is that Gaster, who is seemingly a supporter of following the prophecy, finds fault with him. What could he possibly do? Unless... Interestingly enough, the prophecy references Lancer and Jockeyton, which always struck me as odd, because that means that their existence was foretold from the very beginning. Jockeyton had to exist. He had to be born, which is kind of strange to think about. The prophecy knows about all of these people, but it doesn't say anything about the Eggman at all. Is it possible that the prophecy, the all-knowing, all-powerful story that basically controls the world of Deltarune, doesn't actually know about the Eggman? Is it possible that both the regular route and the Snowbray route end up following the prophecy one way or another, which is why Gaster doesn't necessarily take issue with the Snowbray route? However, the Eggman is the one thing that the prophecy doesn't account for, because it can't account for it. That's why Gaster is upset when you interact with the Eggman, because it's random, unpredictable. Nobody knows exactly what to do with him. In a way, perhaps the Eggman's existence could throw the entire prophecy off balance. We're bringing his eggs into town and leaving a physical trace behind that he exists. While minor right now, for all we know, this could end up being important later. The eggs we leave behind building up towards a much larger impact on the world than we can expect. Perhaps the unknowability of the Forgotten Man eludes even the prophecy itself, with him as a major way to stop whatever is supposed to be coming. But this still doesn't answer the larger question. Why is the evil area associated with the number 67? Look, we need to address the difficulty with answering this question. Here's the deal. In an ideal world, this gray area is RGB code 166.166.166. In that ideal world, there would only be two answers here. The 166 gray area you can see through the binoculars is associated with the Eggman, therefore Eggman is Gaster. Or 166 gray area that you can see through the binoculars is not associated with the Eggman, hence why the NPC calls it evil, therefore Eggman is not Gaster. But that's not the world we live in. The area is associated with the number 167. Not 166, meaning what exactly? If the area is not associated with the Eggman, hence why the NPCs call it evil, it still isn't a surefire link to Gaster, as it's not 166. It could be referencing someone else. So this is just like a huge can of worms here. This is sort of where we're stuck, and where we've been stuck for a while, where I've been stuck since the release of the chapters. Without any other evidence to tip the scales in any direction, there's no way to know for sure exactly what the deal is. Is Eggman Gaster? Is Eggman not Gaster? Is this gray area Gaster related? Is it not Gaster related? Is it the Eggman related? Is it friend related? And hence why the NPCs call it evil. It still isn't a surefire link to Gaster, as it's not 166. It could be referencing someone else. So this is just like a huge can of worms here. This is sort of where we're stuck, and where we've been stuck for a while, where I've been stuck since the release of the chapters. Without any other evidence to tip the scales in any direction, there's no way to know for sure exactly what the deal is. Is Eggman Gaster? Is Eggman not Gaster? Is this gray area Gaster related?
Is it about cheat?
Is it not Gaster related? Is it the Eggman related? Is it friend related? Now that I think about it, actually, there is one more connection to be made here, and truthfully I don't have all the evidence for it because I'm sort of coming up with it now as I'm recording this, but there is another frequent usage of the number 7, and it's in luck. In real life, lucky number 7, and, you know, in gambling and all that. And there is one character tied to the idea of luck. Considering the NPC says this area is evil, could it be image friend related? Just throwing that out there. Anyways, it seems like we might be at a dead end. There's really no way to move forward here. Well, no. You see, this week there's been a discovery. A massive discovery. A type of discovery that's thrown the entire Deltarune community for a loop. Honestly, you're probably thinking Spooky Dude wrote this video to get cheap internet points because of 6-7, as if that was the fire lit under me to make another Deltarune theory. That's false. It's this discovery that made me want to write this video in the first place. Gaster is green and in between. Okay, yeah, I know, this video just keeps getting worse. Before I begin, I'd like to give credit to Twitter user @morganslil_y as their Twitter thread combining all the
Wanna see me play Deltarune?
That's a tongue twister, say that 5 times fast.
Jump
As
to
their
that?
Twitter thread combining all the green Gaster evidence has helped tremendously in figuring out what exactly everyone's been talking about for the last few days. There is a pattern in Deltarune.
I'm gonna play Geometry Dash right now.
In Sans' house, there are 2 rooms. However, the interiors do not line up with the layout of the house. There is a huge space in between. Coincidence? Possibly. But between these 2 doors, the one that leads to the room of the red individual and the one that leads to the room of the blue individual, there is a green painting of a bone. A painting where it all seems like a door should be. And the Undertale anniversary stream, Gaster's door, is one from Sans' house. As if his door was meant to be right there. But it's not. Coincidence, surely. In Chapter 3, the ABC ranked room parallel those in Sans' house. Red for Papyrus, blue for Sans, and in between them, green.
I died.
And the middle room leads to the gumball machine with the spooky death area. The Chapter 4 Egg Room Hospital has 3 doors. In the middle door is the Egg Tree and the Forgotten Man. In the puzzles in Snowden, you need to switch all the X's to O's. The red O's, the blue X's. But there's another symbol, a green triangle. Why a triangle? And why would it be there if you don't need it? Well, the green triangle could...
I died.
And in the middle room leads to the gumball machine with the spooky death area.
Gaster is green and in between. Wait, it's 11.
And into the symbol delta. What about those 2 snowmen, the Papyrus one and the Sans one? They're in the exact spots that their rooms were in, and there's a very suspicious space in between. Perhaps it could fit the snowman who sits in a room very, very similar to the one Mystery Man is in. What does the snowman have you do? How is he meant to represent Gaster? You pull pieces from him and take them throughout the world. So maybe Gaster has something to do with being in between things.
There's 5 people? What?
What about the concept of the color green? Well, the start menu in Deltarune, the Gaster menu is green. The green crayon is missing. Spamton strings are green. The soul is in a green box. It's all lining up. One more thing about the color green. There's a very strange thread Toby Fox posted on Twitter, but he eventually deleted it. I'm going to read it through for you. Luigi takes the fall. From this point forward, Luigi is erased from all games that ever contained
What is a
leaving an
floppiness?
eerie voice in his place.
Oh, I need to finish my CRK
Mario
dailies. I
and
need to finish
Superstar
my CRK
Saga.
dailies.
Mansion. You turn on what was Luigi's mansion, and it's just an empty house forever. Phone rings. Unknown caller. You pick it up. Heavy breathing interspersed with Super Mario World Yoshi noises. Waluigi, now just known as Wa. Maybe the guy behind the house in Super Mario RPG knows. Captain Lou Albano talks to himself in an empty apartment. Luigi takes the fall? What color is Luigi? Green. Why do you delete this thread? Because it's obviously Gaster coded. The whole thread is so Gasterific it's not even funny. So yeah, while
Gasterific?
it's just a silly deleted Twitter thread, I wouldn't write it off considering
Delete
all the
it?
other evidence. But Gaster,
Just
whether
like
he was or
Gaster?
wasn't originally green, doesn't seem so green now. This Twitter thread by Morgan
Yay! Rainbow Kids.
goes on to speculate that the color gray represents what happens when you try to see too far, which is why that NPC says that the Forgotten Man's Island, that area, that gray area, he says, I'm trying to see as far as I can. Gaster may have been green, but he's been lost. That's why in the green Forgotten Man's Island you can see the gray area, and the NPCs there do not like it.
Hey, hurry up!
Evil. It also makes connections between green and the concept of freedom, stating that green is freedom. And frankly, there's a lot of evidence here, especially because of Gerson's dialogue. The
Hurry
air
up.
crackles green with freedom. There is some evidence to suggest that in Deltarune, green
Hurry
and the concept of freedom
up.
are somehow tied.
Hurry.
But we don't really have enough yet, and it's just
Yay.
more instances. So you can look that up. The aforementioned Twitter thread has all of the examples of green and freedom being linked. I'm not ready to make that conclusion just yet, but I do think that Gaster and the concept of being green and in between things is somehow like a real thing. Which leads me to my thought. I don't think that Gaster is the Forgotten Man, as if they're one-to-one the same person. That doesn't make sense considering Gaster does not like the Forgotten Man, and he considers him an issue. It also doesn't make sense with how the NPCs see the gray area as evil. The Forgotten Man doesn't speak like Gaster at all. So what is he? Well, I believe that we've been looking at this all wrong, treating the Forgotten Man, the islands, and Gaster like they're all separate things. In reality, they're much more closely linked than you think. You see, the Mystery Man room in Undertale is in a room in between, just like the Forgotten Man. All these places we've been to, the egg rooms in chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4, are all in the same plane of existence that Gaster is currently. We've been talking about how crazy Deltarune is going to get when we finally go to the depths, or the code, or things like that. The deepest layer we're eventually going to enter, wherever Gaster currently is. But I think we've already been there. The rooms in between are where Gaster is. That's what the pattern of being in between things is trying to tell us. Gaster is stuck in between, as is the Forgotten Man. The idea of the Forgotten Man being a fragment of Gaster himself, a different personification, does admittedly make sense. However, the problem here is that there's no real reason to care about that just now. While you could look at the way that the snowman has you taking pieces of him as evidence that the Forgotten Man is Gaster and is having you do the same thing, even if his name is W.D. Gaster, he's not the Gaster we've been talking to this whole time. So no matter what he's called, he is still a different character than Gaster. If anything, the Forgotten Man is a representation of someone from Chris's past. Everyone knows that if you meet the Eggman, you see NPC dialogue in Hometown where a man waves to you from his car, or you see him at the diner. Considering this only shows up with the Eggman, could they be one and the same? Doubtful, as that would imply he has knowledge of the Dark World, which seems a bit crazy. Instead, I think that the Forgotten Man is a darker version of this individual, perhaps even a goner version. A dark representation of an individual, either a doctor or therapist, that helped Chris overcome their trauma,
Cookie Run.
created by their repressed memories. We know that the existence of the in-between area could have a connection to being in-between in the real world. The remote control was lost in between the couch lines, and who is it that can send you to the land in between in Chapter 3? The remote control. Perhaps Chris's memory of some helpful man in their past is buried with their trauma in their mind, to that land in between. Their own memories.
I'm gonna beat this arena
Now
team.
the bigger question. Okay, Spooky Dude, I believe you. Gaster's Mystery Man rooms, the Goners, the Forgotten Man, and all his rooms, they're not separate concepts at all. They're all the same thing, residents of the realm in between. But what's up with this gray area being 6-7 rather than 6-6? Wasn't that the first question that launched this whole video? Well, I have two thoughts here. Technically, this doesn't 1000% need to be someone other than Gaster. We've already established that the hyper value is sometimes 667.
I need a real gold. I need a real gold. I need a real gold.
Rule that Gaster must
I need a
be
real
related to
gold.
number 6.
I need a
and
real
only
gold.
number 6.
Gold me a
This
real
floor
gold.
being
Are you made of
167
real
could
gold?
be that way just because. Alternatively, you could accept that what we said earlier is correct. Deltarune is using the numbers 6 and 7 as representations of ideas, with 6 being imperfect, sinful, or otherwise evil or bad, and 7 being whole, together, or complete. This lines up with 99% of information we have thus far. The Lord of the Hammer ended with Chapter 6. Chapter 7 was never written, which would have completed the story. All that stuff we spoke about before. Perhaps this patch of grass is related to number 7 because Gaster is most whole here? This is Gaster's actual domain? Something along those lines? Why does this NPC call it evil then? Well, I could answer this.
What if I
but
play
you know,
Cookie Run
I
Oven Break right
I don't
now?
know what I'd like to say here. Alternatively, it could be because this patch of grass is related to Image
Yeah.
Friend, who's also
Yeah.
in the middle of existence and is evil. So yeah, I think that that area that's associated with 6-7, the 167 patch of grass, it's not exactly linked to Gaster, and it's not exactly linked to the Mystery Man. While it probably, if it's for anybody, is more likely linked to Gaster, it's going to be linked to him in a way we don't exactly expect just yet. Like if Gaster does have a whole form, a fully functional body in some way, even if he's not all one piece. The biggest piece of him, I guess, could be in that area, and that's why it's 167, because he is complete there, in comparison to 166, where he just saw, he was just a weird ghostly blob. So that's that. To summarize what was essentially a whirlwind nonsense video, even though I feel like all these topics are important and there's so much to discuss, like, okay, this is one where I really want to hear you guys' thoughts. Like, I know you're thinking, what even was that? I get it, but Gaster being associated with the color green, which is maybe associated with the concept of freedom, and also being associated with being in between things, his links to the Eggman will not exactly link to the Forgotten Man itself. I personally think what it's saying is that, our glimpses at the Forgotten Man have been a glimpse at something deeper that is tied to Gaster. That is our glimpse at the darker world, the deeper world, the land in between. It's all one thing, and that's where everything is. That's where Death is. That's why I haven't been able to explain that strange gumball machine segment, because it's just so strange and nonsensical. Like, how does one interpret that? What if that is another area that's the land in between, where it's more, more Omori, like abstract area, and that's going to continue throughout the rest of the game. And when we finally do get to that ending segment,
Ooh, sparkling cookie.
Go to the land in between. That is they're all going to be abstract areas like that. Weird segments that don't exactly make sense to the world, but like Game Boy segment, Hospital segment, Gumball Machine segment, that kind of thing. I also think this because of one last line by Gerson that I want to bring up. One last thing to tie this all together, and the reason I think we're going back to that.
Why does he do a winking face? Oh.
Gerson specifically says that we should go between the lines. It's darker there. So to summarize, Deltarune differentiates this patch of grass from the floor around Mystery Man by using the value 167 rather than 166. This led our investigation into the identity of the Forgotten Man, what the difference in significance is between the numbers 6 and 7. 6 being the symbol of incompleteness, with 7 being the symbol of perfection and wholeness. The significance of this all is that Gaster is actually related to the color green and being in between things. We can combine this information to conclude that Gaster,
Guild rank,
Depth,
change.
for Dark World, whatever you want to call it, the Goners, and the Forgotten Man aren't separate concepts, but are instead all part of the same idea, being stuck in between.
Did I win?
They're all stuck in the realm
No, I
of
lost!
Paul. There's a high chance that the area that NPC looked at in the Forgotten Island and Paul Evil is a Gaster-related area that we will return to in the future. Oh my goodness. This has been quite the video. I'm worried that some people are going to see this and think it's ridiculous, because, I know, look at that thumbnail. I'm not going to put it back up, it's disturbing, but I get it. It's a pretty crazy concept, and it's a pretty crazy video that he was just making. But I do think that there's a lot. This is the roughest theory I think I've ever put out in terms of, like, concreteness, and I don't typically like doing that, because it's weird, right? Oh, Gaster's trying to associate it with green maybe, so therefore let's come to conclusions. I'm not a fan of doing that typically, I don't like doing that. But I do think there's something to be said here about,
Who is my
color green, being in
cookie?
the 6-7, it's something, right? It's something, and that's why I really do want to hear you guys' opinion.
Cookie ticket! Cookie ticket!
Like, what do you think is the difference between the 167 grass and the 166 grass? Why is there that differentiation? What is the Gaster's role in the whole land in between? Do you agree with me that all of this stuff is the land in between, an almost abstract Omori-like? It's something, and that's why I really want to hear you guys.
Cookie ticket! Cookie. Girl next door. Girl next door. Girl next door. Like the Deltarune song called Girl Next Door. I have Chess Choco Cookie. What if I played our cookie trial right now?
Area where it's not so literal. and there's no Dark Worlds. It's just going to be strange segments one after another. Do you guys disagree with me and think that I've gone off the crazy end and this is too stupid? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. My name is Spooky Dude. Thank you for watching. Let's see if we can get to 6,000-7,000 subscribers from this video. And I'll see you next time.
Ticket!
What do you think?
Ticket!
What do you think?
Drawing RCs. Drawing RCs. Drawing RCs. Bonus time! Bonus time! Yay. Space donut cookie. Okay, I'm done playing. Yeah. Now time to draw RCs. In parentheses, RCs. I'm assuming it's the last one. I'm assuming it's like the last one, maybe. This is not floppy disk. Oh, no, no, no. Hey. Where is... Season 71. I am not seeing... Ah! Mocktail, bro. McDonald's bag? Didn't I already... Oh, hey. Yeah, sure. I am not seeing a floppy disk. Season 71. I'm just gonna go back to, Tua! Okay, the copied character, I think. Okay, piano and forte. By Amigo. These next few RCs are gonna be made by the same person. Yeah. These next RCs are gonna be made by, like, the same person. Item nerd. We only need each other. I'm playing Cookie Run Kingdom. I'm drawing RCs. Drawing your RC may be a bit late, but... Oh, right, I forgot I have 10 hours of nothing right here. Let me put a more fun video, I don't know what to watch, actually. Deltarune 3. I need more Deltarune slop, please. I need more Deltarune Theory slop. I already watched this one. I already watched Roots Theory. Yeah, whatever this is.
I can't keep doing this. My name is Spooky Dude, and this is my final theory. Boy, it sure has been a while since I've done a proper theory review. And yet, all those theories keep getting sent in. So today, I've decided to give back to my community, the Deltarune fanbase that is, because I've taken a solid month making videos like 6-7 Theory, Toy Story Cognito Hazard Theory, and I've kept you all waiting. Today, I'm going to be reading and reviewing 30 of your theories that you sent to me. Let's not waste any time, and let's jump right into this. actually, let's not, because first, I have a pretty big announcement. Recently, you may have noticed that I've been trying to branch out with my videos, and it's because I'd like to turn YouTube into what I do full-time, and that's why I've decided to start a Patreon page, and I'm doing it in a pretty unique way. The $3 tier on my Patreon has access to all main channel videos ad-free 2 days before they come out, unless it's a smaller news-based video, like if a newsletter were to release. All patrons get their names in the end of all of my videos. All patrons get access to tons of content. This is the unique thing I was talking about. I've always wanted to do a second channel where I talk about all kinds of stuff. I want to rank the Mega Man X games. I want to talk about all the horror movies I watched this month. I want to talk about games that I play. I want to do playthroughs and all sorts of other fun variety content. The big idea with the Patreon page is that this is where I can put loads of unique variety content. Currently, there are 3 videos uploaded to the Patreon page. A video of my playthrough of the Sans Pacifist battle from the 10th anniversary that's 20 minutes long. You know, with something like the Knight, that fight goes on very long, and I got really close once or twice after like 6 or 7 minutes. A Halloween Horror Nights discussion video where I talk about all the scare zones and houses that's over an hour long. The main type of scare throughout this house, though, was the animatronics themselves. From what I understand, they were a mixture of actual animatronics and a 40-minute relaxed, unscripted discussion video where I talk about my thoughts, expectations, hopes, and more for Deltarune Chapter 5. So thoughts on Chapter 5 is I'm way less excited than Chapter 3 and 4. Okay. All of that is available for patrons, and I will put out fun variety content like that constantly. Not only that, but at the beginning of every month, I will post on the Patreon asking for you guys' Deltarune theories, and all patrons who send a theory will have their theory reviewed in a Patreon theory review video. But that video won't be stuck on the Patreon page, I'll then upload it to YouTube as well, so your Patreon theories can be seen by everyone. Don't worry, these videos won't replace these theory review videos, they're extra. Finally, the $5 tier for if you really want to support me includes everything from the previous tier,
So
and
far
I
I
will
made
also
6.
especially shout out your name
That's
in the end of
good.
the video. The Patreon
How many
page is
hours
live
has
right
this
now,
stream?
link in the description. Thank you
Almost
so
2
much
hours.
for being willing to support me.
Wow.
So without further ado, my name is
bad.
Spooky Dude. Make sure to like and subscribe and become a
Dippin'
member
Dots
on
Synth.
Patreon. Now let's discuss. Starting off with a theory from Zing.
After this,
Susie is the second voice that interrupted the Goner Maker in the beginning of the game, because she is the Pen of Hope. This is a time loop theory, with the theory stating that we are actually on a rewrite of the original story. Basically, in the original story, it was the vessel that took the burden of the soul and descended to become the angel. In this rewrite, Chris is the one that's now taking on the burden of the soul. Susie is the one to put all of this into effect, because she's the White Pen of Hope. She is actually the writer of the prophecy. So the original story involved the vessel. This rewritten one by Susie involves Chris at the center instead. I think there are elements to this theory I actually do really like, specifically the idea that Susie being the White Pen of Hope ends up being the author of the prophecy. Now, there are a few problems with this, but I'd just like to talk about it for a second. One of the scenes that really spoke to me during the recent release was when Chris and Susie were walking through the second sanctuary. After Susie opened up about her experience with the piano and everything, and she starts talking about how meaningful it is to be a prophesized hero. She says she's never really been picked for anything before because she wasn't good enough. She's thrilled to be called the girl with hope crossed on her heart. We've spoken about how it's weird that the prophecy references Lancer and Jockington in the past, especially considering how hyper-specific those references are to our adventure, compared to the more vague entries. But if this theory turned out to be true, it would make sense. The original adventure involved the vessel, with Chris playing another role. Susie reached the ending and through some means rewrote the story, rewrote the prophecy, sending us into Chris instead of the vessel. Coming back around to my point with that whole thing about Susie, that would mean that not only was Susie picked as the girl with hope crossed on her heart, she's the hero who saved the world through rewriting fate. This prophecy feeling like something that's bigger than all of us actually being written by Susie would be a really cool reveal in terms of what it says about Susie as a character. That being said, I still do have some problems with this theory, specifically that it is a bit complicated. And I'm not sure how that could be properly explained. Also, this would imply that whatever bad thing Ralsei wants to stop, Susie still wrote that into the prophecy. Plus, I feel like the emotional core of this story is going to somehow end up revolving around us defying the prophecy. So it would be really weird if it was like, the prophecy is bad, let's defy it. Oh, we maybe can't? Oh, actually, Susie wrote it, so we kind of can? I definitely get where you're coming from, and the problems I have with this theory aren't exactly with the idea, just with the details, which can easily be changed. The idea that Susie has much more, I guess, metaphysical purpose, the idea that she put something into motion we don't realize yet, the idea that there is some kind of time loop logic being applied, that all makes sense and could end up being proven true. It's just the details here that I'm not too sure about, so for that reason I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. The next theory was sent from Sumi, and it's pretty nuts, in a good way. Papyrus is the Forgotten Man, or is related to the Forgotten Man in some way. There's tons of evidence to back this up. In Undertale, when you fight Papyrus, it says he's forgettable. When you date Papyrus, there's an egg on the screen. There's Undertale merch with Papyrus behind a tree. The Forgotten Man and Papyrus both speak in uppercase. There's a heart shape on Papyrus's jogging outfit shoulder pads. And finally, Papyrus does talk like a therapist in some instances. Like when he says, I, Papyrus, will gladly be your friend and tutor. I will turn your life right around. Therefore, if the Forgotten Man was in fact a therapist, it adds some level of believability. Not only that, but in Undertale, Papyrus has 2,184 lines of dialogue. The number 2184 is an angel number, and its meaning is 2184 tells you that when you are making life plans, learn to quiet yourself. Go within and listen to your gut feelings as your intuition always leads you in the right direction. Only you know your true desires and life mission, so make plans and take action in the direction your instincts lead you. Papyrus is someone who always listens to his gut feelings, but Flowey is trying to get him not to. Out of all monsters in the underground, all of whom Flowey knows a lot about, why manipulate Papyrus? This theory suggests that it's because Flowey knows more about Papyrus than we do. Papyrus is the Forgotten Man. Alright, there is a lot to say about this one. First off, I want to say I'm not sure how I feel about the angel number significance. Let's be clear here. It's incredible theorizing. It honestly sounds like something that I would come up with, and I mean that in a good way, but I don't necessarily think it means anything. All numbers are angel numbers, and if you search up any number, you'll get a generally vague explanation of its meaning. Like, say Papyrus had one more or one less line of dialogue. Angel number 2183 means to have strong trust and dedication to finding the right path in your world. You could argue that this is related to Deltarune and the search for some good ending that subverts the prophecy, and how the Eggman might be that path. Angel number 2185 means that all is going to work out in the end, which again could be argued to be a Deltarune-related thing. So I don't necessarily think 2184 is such a specific meaning that it really works. That would also mean that Toby specifically wrote Papyrus's dialogue with the number 2184 in mind, like he specifically set out to write 2,184 lines of dialogue, no more, no less. Which, I mean, while that would be pretty impressive, I don't find that believable. As for the theory itself, outside of that specific point, here's my thought. If you asked me on any given day, do you think Papyrus is the Forgotten Man? I'd tell you no, because to me it's very much like Papyrus Night Theory. There's no way that the character of Papyrus is secretly a big, important, mysterious character when there's no precedent set for that to be the case. I mean, when I say mysterious character, obviously he's a pretty mysterious character because we haven't seen him, but I don't think that he could be someone as big and important and ominous as the Eggman. Why would Papyrus all of a sudden be this weird therapist-type guy who's helped Chris in the past, who's also stuck in the rooms in between and can't always speak? It doesn't make sense, especially considering Sans wants us to hang out with him. For the logistical reasons alone, I have a very hard time believing it. But, and this is a big but, all of the evidence you provided does in fact line up and bring the possibility of Papyrus Eggman into the spotlight. Admittedly, most of the evidence is just thematic or linked imagery, like the egg in Papyrus's dating screen, the idea that Papyrus is forgettable, but the merch showing Papyrus behind a tree? At the end of the day, while I do not think that Papyrus flat out is the Eggman behind the tree, if it turned out that Papyrus had some link to the identity of the Forgotten Man, I wouldn't be entirely surprised because of this evidence. At the end of the day, there's definitely enough evidence to keep him in the discussion. Whenever we're going to do one of those Identity of the Forgotten Man theory videos, Papyrus will always be one of the suspects. But because of the logistical issues, I have to give this theory a 5 out of 10. That being said, that score is only based on the believability of the theory itself. In terms of overall theory quality, I'd rank it much higher, and I really do like the link to the angel number. This next theory was sent by the guy McLastname, and it states that in Chapter 5, the Floral Cowboy is going to be Asgore himself. Basically, we'll end up meeting a sheriff that acts as the head law enforcement of the Dark World, a cowboy with a southern drawl. That cowboy will be revealed to be the Dark World version of Asgore, who has known about the existence of Dark Worlds this entire time. His behavior will be based on his favorite old cowboy show, spending his free time...
Another Deltarune crackpot theory has hit the community. So, many users on Twitter and also on YouTube have begun noticing that something is up with Jockington. Well, turns out that when you talk to him in Chapter 4, you start to notice his speech is a little bit off. Almost similarly so to the NPC in the library with only a Gunner counterpart in Undertale. It's scrambled with commas and periods in weird places. Let me tell you, he did not talk like that before. And he, just sort of knows how to defeat the Titan. Then it all starts to fall fall into place. Toby Fox doodling him regularly, Jockington being in the prophecy, referred by name, shown twice? Is he slowly becoming a goner? Or did I mention the fact that he's always smiling and has sunglasses on, meaning we can see his eyes? No, you gotta listen, he's friends, I swear! The Tale of Hell, no, that's the Tale of Jockington! Another Deltarune crackpot theory?
Jorkington. Jorkington.
Living his glory days as the police chief.
Okay. Whoa. Never mind.
Easily solving problems for the characters in this fantasy world. As a complete opposite situation to Hometown, everyone in the Flower World will love him and treat him like a hero. This could also allow the game to finally go into what happened to Asgore and give more info on December. Okay, I actually really like this idea. For a while, we've been talking about whether or not there's going to be a cowboy character. I mean, that's like what Woody Theory is. But we've never stopped and thought about whether or not the cowboy character could be someone we knew the entire time. Asgore being a cowboy would be a really cool idea, and I could see it making sense. I think it fits him personally, and it makes sense considering he was the police chief. We've all sort of assumed that he'd be a king, considering the prophecy panel that says the Flower Man trapped in asylum shows him with a crown. And I will say that's probably the biggest piece of evidence against this theory at the moment, but it doesn't render it impossible. Due to the lack of evidence in favor of Cowboy Asgore, I am going to have to give this one a 6 out of 10. However, the idea itself is really fun, and I personally would love to see it happen. I think there's so many different routes you can go there. I think that, honestly, I'd love to see fan designs and music and stories with Cowboy Asgore. What would that be like? This next one is from Maya, and it states that there are at least 2 authors of the prophecy. More so that the prophecy has not just been altered, but added to. The majority of the prophecy is written in rhyme, is somewhat vague, and is poetic. For example, the light and dark, both burning dire, a countdown to the earth's expire. And then when all hope is lost for the tale, the final tragedy unveils. However, once in a while, it'll say something different, like, Jockington grows the beard. The pointy-headed will say toothpaste, and then boy. This language is much simpler than the rest, is extremely specific, and doesn't rhyme. The theory states that in a similar situation to the second speaker in the Gonermaker sequence, there is a second writer to the prophecy. Maya goes on to suggest that there are many possibilities, including Susie being the second writer, with the idea of her being the dragon and the white pen of hope as part of the evidence. Maybe at some point the Fun Gang will be able to send a message to their past selves that things can be changed, or something, and that's why there are these strange other sections to the prophecy. I think this is very interesting. I've had a problem with Chapter 4's portrayal of the prophecy since day one, and by problem I mostly mean vast fits of confusion and rage. The first Dark World seems to portray it very simply. It's just a deeper version of Rousey's prophecy. But then the second Sanctuary calls all that into question. It seems like the prophecy could be jumbled up. It seems like it's referencing a different party than the Fun Gang, possibly the Vessel, possibly Noelle. Then we get to the Love Finds Its Way to the Girl panels, which is absolutely, positively, 100% an allusion to what will end up happening in the Weird Round. Then the third Sanctuary comes along, and there's thousands of jumbled up copies of the panels, and that room with hundreds in the background. Are we meant to think that the prophecy is infinitely bigger than what we saw? That these panels cover absolutely everything about the story ahead, dark prognosticus style? Or are these copies of previous prophecy panels? Who knows? Your point does stand, though. I agree that if the prophecy is in fact meant to be read like a linear story, then it doesn't quite work with the panels like Jockington grows the beard or Roots. To me, I think that the integrity of the prophecy itself will be called into question later on, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were several writers. Again, I'm not too sure how much I like Susie being one of the writers, unless it's like an endgame thing where she writes her own ending or something to that effect. But going back and being the one who wrote lots of the prophecy we've already seen, I'm not too sure. So I am going to give this one a 7 out of 10. But I do think that the overall point I want to take away from this and that I agree with is that, like I said, the integrity of the prophecy will be called into question. Who wrote it, where did it come from, etc. So while I think that Susie might not be the one, like your theory suggests, it could turn out that the prophecy has been altered or written in such a way where there is a writer or a second writer, or there is an original prophecy, because remember Gerson said that stories become something different. So at some point we might find out, oh, there is an original prophecy, and this is Gaster's version, or this is the Friend's version, or something to that effect. You know what I mean? This next theory is from Adrian. The Knight
Adrian.
is actually something similar to a
Enrique.
D&D Lich. The evidence is the Knight has a zombie undead appearance, as does a Lich. It possesses strong... This next theory is from Adrian.
Adrian.
The Knight is actually something similar to a D&D Lich. The evidence is the Knight has a zombie undead appearance, as does a Lich. It possesses strong magic tied to a dark force, and the Lich's power of undeath is tied to an object that, if destroyed, allows the Lich to die permanently, known as a phylactery. So what if that's what's going on with the Knight, and its phylactery is the Black Knife? When the Knight's blade, of which its magic is based on, is chipped, the Knight swoons the party and escapes. This is a really cool idea. Now, I personally have not played Dungeons & Dragons, but I did a little research and there are definite vibes that both the Knight and the Liches share. Through a process some call the Ceremony of Endless Night, an individual soul is stored in a magic object called the phylactery, and it becomes an undead creature, taking on a skeletal form and wielding great power. Interestingly enough, Liches are able to put mortals in a paralyzed state of hibernation with their minds, making them seem dead to others, almost the same way Chris was sleeping like a zombie. I don't necessarily think that you're that far off base here. While I'm not going to go as far as to say that I'm all messed up. Lich, Knight, all confusing. While I'm not going to go as far as to say that Des was specifically inspired by Dungeons & Dragons Liches, there are several ties that make the theory interesting. I do think that the Knight and the Liches are,
Okay, I'm gonna
at the very
go
least,
do y'all
very similar
causes.
creatures, so I'm going to be giving this one an 8 out of 10. Theory 6 was sent by XE, and it states that in the weird route, as a way to try and stop us, Susie or another Lightner will summon a Titan to fight us and Noelle. I think this idea is pretty cool. I'm not sure. In the weird route, as a way to try and stop us, Susie or another Lightner will summon a Titan to fight.
On December 15th, 2023, I opened up the Desmos graphing calculator, you know, this thing, and I started typing. 1 month later, I arrived at this. Everything you're looking at right now is made entirely out of math expressions. A being of math made with math. This was the result of well over 50 hours of work using all the knowledge gained from my 3 years of making Desmos graphs. So, how do we get here?
Number 10. O.
Or anything, but like, why have you been in here all this time? Like for a year, I mean? Not try.
Oh great, now I'm surrounded by losers! Oh, sorry. I mean losers and winners.
Why are you back?
I completely forgot about you, dude.
Winner.
Oh, thank you. Hello? Who did that? Hello? Hello? Who's there?
too!
Hey, this looks familiar, doesn't it? Hey, this looks familiar, doesn't it? 0 people. Wow. Tomodachi Life. Yeah, I genuinely can't wait.
Hello?
Okay, I'm gonna draw some of y'all characters now. I don't know who Fernand Flores, whatever it is. Ooh! Wait, this looks sick. How do I zoom out? How do I Oh, okay. Yeah, Luigi. Soup gave birth to society, am I right? Anyone still here? Anyone? What is a chorizo pronoun, bro? I really like this RC, bro. Enrique. Kinda suck at drawing hats, to be honest. I think that's good, though. I can use the Toon Squid thing. tuned with symmetry. No. Isometric exercise.
It should be fine, so enjoy the video. Hey guys, I have some huge news that's genuinely really cool. I can't show it yet, so today we're reacting to videos. Now, little disclaimer, I have seen one section of this. I got like hard accused by one guy in my Discord like a random afternoon of like copying Oates' designs for lowercase numbers. So I've seen that part of the video just to like compare and contrast. But I don't even remember any of that part of the video, so I'm excited to check this out because last time I was over there, we had a little more things I could critique. But here we'll at least be able to critique market numbers. So, without further ado, thank you all. Are you watching this? Okay, I think you just have to do the thing. So basically, back in 2020, I made a video where it was if you haven't seen it, it's very important. It's got the hits. I've got a crazy 78K views, and it's what, like 7 million now. That's kind of crazy for numbers. Sorry, I keep blocking you by accident. I don't mean to do that. That's not me, bro. Some people are saying that it's copying some other people that are video. I don't want to say I relate to that because it's going to make me sound like I'm super salty, but like at the same time, it is kind of funny how much I get accused of copying people sometimes. The difference is that like at the very least, like my title for the, I'm going to go on a bit of a side tangent for a second, I'm going to go online, but like my news video on the main channel, at the time of recording this, the news video on the main channel is the assigning colors to like school subjects and letters and whatnot. And a lot of people compared that video, well, a lot of people just hard accused me of stealing the video, but a lot of people compare it to the Deckard. They have a series kind of ongoing that I was like semi-aware of when I made the video, where they kind of assign colors to different things. But their stuff, from what I've seen, I haven't really checked it out too much, but from what I've seen, it's like super analytical and like really like they like delve into numbers. I don't know, what's the word? They do surveys. They look at like general opinions and like analyze like it's pretty like, for lack of a better term, analytical. Like there were people into my comments being like, oh my god, Angela, you have to give Angela please credit. First of all, I think me or Decker were the first people to ever make videos assigning colors to things. So even if we were, we don't like have neither of us have a monopoly on the idea. And second of all, like I didn't even necessarily copy them because so many people commented that idea on my videos for months before I even knew about Deckard's channel. And so like even though I knew about their channel by the time I was making the video, the idea itself wasn't something that I got from them, otherwise I would have brought it up. I think most of the time for the niche of the videos that me and create, the ideas themselves might be original, but like they can be expanded upon in such different and diverse ways that it's not necessarily copying someone's video just to make something about the same idea. But if you're inspired by a creator, absolutely credit them, say where you got the idea from. But like you can still make the video, you're not copying the video with different, you know. I kind of went off into that there, but anyway, back to fixing the outfits. Anyways, you all either thought it was a great funny video, or some of you roasted everything for being mean. Many of you thought that video was completely serious. Was it not? I don't know. When you said that we should get rid of cursive and signatures should be replaced with little logos, I thought you were being like completely dead ass and you okay. I was doing a bit, but I guess he predicted the bit before I could. I did pause the video, so that's all. You guys simply don't understand. I have made a perfect planning system. Maybe just non-stop 24 jam dan semua batu bara ini, semua hasil penjualan. Okay, that's not how this works. You don't just get to go. I don't know where exactly, tapi pasti CH made a ch sound, but now it's like QH makes a ch sound. One person, how do they do that? Dia pastikan masyarakat. You can't just do that. QH for chair. Okay. What do you mean QH for? What are you talking about? What, adding an image of a chair to the alphabet is not going to make me understand why QH will make it ch noise any better. Next, some people are going to be okay, that's it, we're done now. Moving on. Glad we got that thoroughly explained before we just moved on to the next thing. You guys keep bringing up different writing systems. I don't know them, so yeah, English is the only language. Don't let me be saying that in the big 26. Wait, you can't just type your video fixing the alphabet and then change the entire subject matter of the video to redesigning the way society works. I mean, I guess you can, but like, that brings up a great point. We should change those words. If the word can be spelled similar, the same exact sound, then you have to do it. Didn't we address that in the first one with like R and U and Q and stuff? I got this expanding on that more. I've seen TH. I'm already scared. So like the verb, you can take out the last bit. So it's TH. Great job.
You know what? I'll accept that. I type that out all the time anyway. So yeah, that works. Wait, so hold on. If we build on that logic, let me go here. So no.
Wait, this is sick. Whoa. Wait, what? That RC is so cool. That is so cool, bro. Bro. What is this? This is so cool.
I have a question.
Is it about cheese? Do you want cheese?
How did you know? You're psychic.
Oh, when you do this, it's always about food.
I don't know how to feel about being this predictable. I have a question.
Mari-mari, losang at Pizza Hut. Huh? It's the new way to ong. Ong. Crunch pizza with golden pockets of creamy buttermilk. It's giving ong. Only at Pizza Hut.
Yeah, I know. She was so surprised. Really? Oh, for sure. I mean, it wasn't very big. Just a little bug, but Flower went crazy. OMG, Flower is really a Oh, for sure. I mean, it wasn't very big. Just a little bug, but Flower went crazy.
Mystery bags. You might be surprised at what you discover. At Phototomo, you can choose a me, background. You'll be able to see different sides of the me's when they're under the same roof.
On 3, say the first.
And gift to me characters.
I feel a bit more like myself.
The little quirks can differ.
The one who truly loves you, Morris, is me.
Jess is here?
Hold it right there.
Here's how Crystal's dog was made. But
which of us do you choose?
Pick one of us, once and for all.
Capri! My name is Crystal.
You're Crystal. I'm Jess.
And now they know each other. Once this happens,
the one about monster trucks.
Of course I saw it. I've been itching to talk to someone about it.
Crystal. I'm Jess.
And now they know each other. Once this happens,
the one about monster trucks.
Of course I saw it. I've been itching to talk to someone about it.
Crystal. I'm Jess.
And now they know each other. Once this happens,
I'm very sorry that offends you.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're already seething, and it's very entertaining to see. If you guys didn't know already, the direct for the game Tomodachi Life Living the Dream has recently premiered. But there's a moment in this direct that got the internet on fire, which is your gender could be wherever and your dating preferences can be wherever, including the person to be non-binary. If you guys don't know what non-binary means in gender form, it's this definition. And yeah, guys, you know what that means. Nintendo has officially gone
You think about a girl like me? Drive my own car and spend my own money.
and I already had a sense that the person to be non-binary. If you guys don't know what non-binary means in gender form, it's this definition.
Oh, I didn't realize a Black Lives Matter sign was so offensive to you. I'm very sorry that offends you.
Like, dude, I apologize if this offends you. And if you want me to say that in a full sentence, I understand that this video game not being 100% straight is offensive to you, and I'm very sorry that offends you. But not everything has to be straight all the time. These people try and be a